So let's just pretend that we're working on a new project and we're starting right from scratch. So the first thing you're going to do is you're just going to go in here, you're going to click New Folder, and you're just going to call this whatever you want. So I'm going to call it My Project, because I don't really know what we're working on. So I've got my folder there. Now I'm just going to open up VS Code, and I'm going to look for that folder. So I'm going to say File, Open Folder. Let's go to Desktop, My Project, select, and there we go. So now we've got the empty folder opened. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the files. Now for this little series, we're going to have 3 different files. We're going to have a CSS file. So we're going to say mystyle.css. So call that whatever you want. Just make sure you have the little CSS extension. And then we're going to new one called myscript.js. And then the last one is just going to be that HTML. So I'm going to call that main.html. So no matter what you call these, as long as you have the .css, .js, and .html, you're going to get these handy little icons, and it's going to basically tell you what the code editor understands it to be. So here it's asking for the HTML language, here it wants JavaScript, here it wants CSS. So it's going to look slightly different inside of each file. So let's start with HTML. This one is going to be really easy to learn, so you're going to pick it up quick. It's just using tags like this. So that's the general format. So we're going to have this keyword HTML inside of a less than and a greater than sign. We're going to have a little space in between, and then we're going to have the exact same thing written again, this time with a /. So this is the opening tag, that is the closing tag. Now I could just write stuff in between here like hello, but normally you're going to want to space it out. Just like with JavaScript, you wouldn't do something like that. You would actually indent it and then write your content inside. So you have the opening, the closing, and the stuff inside. So we're kind of trying to keep to that format. So how you would have it is something like this. And then it's just understood that everything between these lines is dealing inside these HTML tags. Now normally we wouldn't just write raw text inside of tags like that. We would actually have something called a header, just to set it up a bit more. So again, opening, closing tags, and then hit return. And everything inside this header is going to have to do with the metadata. So I can actually open this up. If you don't have this extension yet, just go to Extensions and Live Server, like that. It's a very, very popular one. Just hit install. You might have to reset VS Code. I can't remember. And once you have that working, you can go into any HTML document, and you can just right-click, open with Live Server, and it's actually going to show you this HTML document inside of a web browser, which is very neat. So since right now we just have the basic tags and a header, there's not actually going to be any content in here. So it's going to be completely blank. As we go along, you'll start to see stuff pop up. So the header is just kind of metadata. As I said, it's not necessarily dealing with content, it's dealing with stuff to set up the web page. So there might even be, let's just move this over here, and I'll get that one over here. So metadata might be something like linking up different style sheets. It might be, you might put maybe like an icon up here to reference maybe the name of your website. You just do stuff like that that's not actually part of the main content. So we'll leave that for now. We'll do that later. Right now we just want to do some more basic HTML. So the next thing you're going to want is the body tag. So this is where the actual content goes, basically everything inside the white space. So you can picture the whole browser as being HTML, these HTML tags, and then you can picture the body as being the white space here. So that's what it encompasses. So inside the body, we can start to put elements. So if I wanted to just say a message, I could just write hello like that. I could save it, refresh the page, and we're going to get that message. But let's actually put some elements in instead of just writing some random text like that. Whoops, need to save that. There we go. So we'll get that away. So let's put in a button, just like we had before. I'm going to type button inside of those tags, and we're good to go. Now I can actually write between the tags, and that's going to give the button a name. So this is just plain text. I'm going to say button 1 maybe, I don't know. We'll go with that. So we have button 1 here. I can click it. It's not going to do anything, but it exists. So I can do another button. I could say button 2, something like that. Now we have 2 buttons. I could say my other button, and that would just change the name there. So we can click both of these. They're both on the sheet. So let's get rid of that first one actually, just for clarity. So the next thing we're going to do is an input field. So we're going to use the input tag, and we actually don't need a closing tag for this. It just wants an opening input tag, and that is going to give us this little input. So you can already start to type inside of the input field there, but if you hit enter or try clicking a button, it's not going to do anything. So that's the type of thing that we'll set up later, but we have the input actually displaying, so that's good. Now the next thing we want to do is some text. So before I just kind of put out the word hello, just kind of out in the blue like that. Now normally you're not going to do this type of thing. So if I save it, it is actually going to appear, and now we have this message. So maybe hello, how are you? Something like that. So we have some text, but that's just kind of loosey-goosey right now. We want to actually separate that so that we can talk about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to put that inside of a div tag. So we're going to go like that, div, and we're going to put it there. Now there's a whole bunch of these tags that will take text. So there's like paragraph, which is just P like that. There is, there's like bold, so we could put something, maybe it would just bold the stuff that's inside. And there's just all kinds of them. But really we're just going to deal with the div. So that's kind of a common way of grouping up content. And right now we've just put a message, but you could start to do this kind of thing, right? You could say div, and then you could even put like all of that inside of a div. So if you ever look and inspect a web page, you're going to see these divs all over the place. And that's just a way of saying, I want this stuff to be separate, I want this stuff to be separate, and really just a good way of identifying everything. But we're going to keep that real simple for now. We're just going to put a div with some text inside. So now we have our very, very basics here. We have that button, our input field, and we have some kind of message. So we'll just leave it off there for now.